76 Reasons You're Not Losing Weight. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You heard about paleo from someone who lost weight effortlessly on paleo. They told you paleo was amazing, the food tasted great, you could eat bacon, and that they ate as much food as they wanted and they just lost weight. Poof. So you decided to try it for yourself, and in the first week you lost 7 pounds. 7 freaking pounds. That's more weight than you'd lost in the past 5 years combined. In 1 week, amazing. You figured you were on an easy peasy downhill ride to your optimal size. So you kept doing what you did the first week, but after the second or third week, the weight stopped coming off. And now you're stuck right where you were at week 3. Maybe you've even gained some weight. What the? Is this you? Standing on the scale or in front of the mirror saying to yourself, why am I not losing weight on paleo? Well, it's a lot of people, according to my email inbox. You are not alone, that is for sure. And you will get through this. If you need to lose fat, you'll lose fat if you take the right steps. I've talked to a lot of paleo people, and I've learned a lot from them, and myself, over the years about failing to lose fat, even on paleo. Let me share with you what we've collectively figured out, and you can start experimenting with yourself to get over this little bump in the road. A lot of this info is being borrowed from another similar post I wrote on this topic here. 1. You may be eating too many calories. I just had a conversation with my beautiful cousin, Meg, about calories. She's thin as a rail and has always had a sweet tooth. She decided a while back to cut out some of the candy and other junk food she was eating, and instead opt for a healthier snack of nuts and dried mango. Well, she ended up gaining 7 pounds on a small frame in a short period of time because she was overeating those healthy foods. The moral of the story is that it doesn't matter how healthy your food is, if you eat too much of it, you're going to gain weight. I've had the same thing happen over and over in my own life. I'll be at a good weight that I like, and then I get overly comfortable and start putting more food on my plate, all paleo foods, eating more for snacks, using more oil, fat in my meals, and eating a few too many sweets, and bam! I'm fitting in my pants all wrong. Then I usually end up going to myfitnesspal.com and log what I eat for a few days to see the damage. One time I found out I was eating 1,000 calories just in cashews every day. Duh. If you record what you're eating and find you're eating too much, according to myfitnesspal.com, just cut down your calorie intake. Don't be crazy about it and start making spreadsheets and bar graphs of your food intake versus your exercise versus the gravitational pull on your belly. Just put a little less food on your plate. You need that stuff to make energy and happiness and basic bodily functions, and if you have too little of it, chances are your plan is going to backfire and you'll binge at the end of every day you deprive yourself. So, be aware of how much you're eating by looking foods up, like those sneaky little nuts by googling calories x food. Or by going to myfitnesspal.com or the USDA food list. Yes, there are some people out there who can just eat whatever they want on paleo and still magically lose weight. But those people and you may have different appetite signals in your bodies. My own appetite is very demanding, and sometimes I have to have little sit-down talks with it. Or your metabolisms may be different, or you may just be more genetically prone to having fat on your body than that other person. Whatever the case may be, the amount of food you eat, and I don't care what other people say about calories and paleo, will have a large effect on how large you are. I see it all the time, too. You may be exercising too much, or too little. I know that you're exercising too much to lose weight may sound counterintuitive, But I actually see this phenomenon a lot, and it happens to me personally. If I exercise too much, I gain weight. It happened when I started doing CrossFit last year, and as soon as I stopped CrossFit, I lost the weight. If you're exercising more than 3 days a week, I'd ratchet it down to 3 days a week, or even less if you have diagnosed adrenal issues, for a while and see how that goes. Exercising 5-6 days a week is a lot, and many people's bodies don't like it. You may be causing inflammation in your body, and water retention in your muscles is one of the ways inflammation manifests. Water retention equals extra weight and ill-fitting clothes. Exercising too much can also negatively affect your cortisol levels because it's so stressful on your body, and unbalanced cortisol levels can inhibit weight loss. Conversely, of course, if you're not exercising at all, or doing just a little bit low-impact exercise, walking, even really quickly smile, your body could just need a kick in the pants. Sometimes a bit of intense weightlifting, sprints, or some kind of high-intensity interval training, CrossFit-type workouts, is just what your insulin levels and muscle fibers need to get things moving. 3. You may not be sleeping enough or well enough. Make sure you're getting 8 hours a night, seriously, in a dark room with no noise. If you need to, wear earplugs and or an eye mask. Or sleep in a room where there's no snoring spouse. If you don't get enough sleep, you tax your adrenals and your cortisol levels can get out of whack, which can in turn inhibit weight loss, like I mentioned in the last point. I sleep with earplugs in every night. I don't know what I'm going to do if I have a kid and I need to hear him, her crying at night. I can't sleep without them at his point. I'm an anxious, sometimes hypervigilant type of person, and if I hear the house creak at night I immediately think it's a rapist coming into my room. I'm only sort of kidding. So earplugs changed my sleep forever by making all those noises go away. I can sleep through most things now, and I can't recommend it highly enough for people like me. This is a really interesting article that sort of sums up the sleep-weight loss connection. Basically, there are several connections, including cortisol, ghrelin, the hormone that tells you when you're actually hungry. Ever noticed you're hungrier when you're tired? And leptin, the hormone that tells you you've had enough to eat, same concept as with ghrelin. The one they don't mention in the article is growth hormone. When you're asleep your body produces growth hormone, which allows you to build muscle, lose fat. If you don't sleep, or if you don't sleep well, then your body doesn't produce as much growth hormone. So use the earplugs and eye mask, invest in a comfortable bed that you actually sleep in, and do whatever it takes to get those 8 hours every night, or as often as you can. If you can't get them at night, try to take naps whenever you can. If you have trouble falling asleep at night, try experimenting with your caffeine intake, when you drink it, how much of it you have, etc., to see if that helps at all. 4. You may be eating too many or not enough carbs. If you're eating over 100 grams a day and you're not really working out at all, then you may be getting too many carbs. If that's the case, then you can start experimenting with eating fewer carbs, less fruit, sweet potatoes, paleo sweets, non-paleo sweets. Smile, too many carbs will quickly put extra fat on you if you're not using those carbs up. By the way, the 100 grams I just referenced is a very rough number, and everyone is different. For instance, some people can't handle more than 25 grams of carbs a day and really need to try a ketogenic diet, or ketosis. That means lots of fat, moderate amounts of protein, and very low carbohydrates. Your body starts to adapt well to ketones, the fuel your body produces from fat in the absence of carbohydrates, and a lot of people have success with weight loss with this method, including Jimmy Moore of LivingLaVitaLowCarb.com. I tried ketosis once and it didn't fit my body type. Here's a blog post about my experiment with it and what a paleo-ketogenic diet might look like. According to my many commenters on my blog posts throughout my ketogenic experiment, I did it all wrong, but I tend to think that I would have died if I'd kept going. Just kidding, but I at least would have withered away to skeletal status. Either way, my body didn't like it, but yours very well may. If you're exercising a lot, though, you'll want to do a lot of reading up on how to do ketosis properly. Anyway, to figure out how many carbs you're eating every day, just go into myfitnesspal.com and record a few normal days of eating. If you're eating fewer than 100 grams a day and you're working out intensely and regularly, then you may need more. More might mean you need a fruit smoothie and a couple sweet potatoes every single day. Plus some honey or another natural type simple sugar, especially if you're doing long endurance workouts. But more may just mean 1/2 of a sweet potato every day, or a paleo muffin made with honey or something. It depends on your size, your activity level, and how your particular body responds to carbs. I can't tell you exactly how much you'll need as everyone is different, but please do experiment. It may seem really silly to think that more carbs might help you lose weight, but if you're not getting enough, you're stressing your body out. Cortisol levels are going to get all wonky, and we already know what that means. Not enough carbs often leads to insomnia for people, or crazy carb cravings that make people binge. What's the point of going super duper low carb if you're just going to binge on non-paleo pie anyway? So you can see that there's a pretty delicate balance of not enough carbs and too many carbs in your paleo diet. You've gotta experiment and see what works for you. 5. Try eating more protein in the morning. In fact, try eating more food in general in the morning. A lot of paleo people eat just eggs in the morning, and it doesn't seem to fill them up for very long, so they end up snacking a lot through the day, often on nuts and fruit, which don't really fill you up and are easy to overeat. Add some meat to your breakfast, whether it be sausage, leftover burger, chicken, or whatever. Just get some more protein and fat, and some veggies would be nice, too, in there, and see if you feel more energetic, more satiated, and have fewer cravings through the day. It's better to add 200 calories to your breakfast in the form of meat and fat than it is to succumb to a frappuccino craving every day at 3 p.m., know what I mean? 6. Caffeine can hold people back from losing weight. If you're a coffee, green, black tea, decaf, etc. drinker, consider giving caffeine up to see if it improves your situation. Since caffeine is a stimulant, it affects your adrenals and therefore your cortisol levels, and thyroid and sex hormones, and on, and again, messing with your cortisol can inhibit weight loss. Caffeine can also affect your sleep, even if you only have 1 cup a day. And not getting enough sleep, well, I already went over that in point 3. 7. Make sure you listen to your body's hunger and exercise cues. If you're really tired, don't work out hard that day, and go to sleep early. If you're not hungry, don't eat. If you're done eating and there's still food on your plate, push the plate away. If you feel weak, lethargic, have achy joints, headaches, feel unmotivated, anxious, depressed, or your athletic performance is waning, those are all signs of overtraining. The cure for overtraining is to stop training so much. Smile. 8. You may have a tricky food sensitivity. Sometimes food sensitivities make people retain water, which can make you look puffy and weigh more than you actually would without all that water. Beef does this to me. If I eat beef, I wake up the next morning with puffy eyes and painful joints, weighing a couple pounds more than usual. So don't dismiss any foods as culprits, it can be anything. I'd start with the first 7 tips above first, though, and if all those fail, move on to testing foods by removing them from your diet for a couple weeks and then trying them again. The most common food sensitivities within the paleo realm are nuts and seeds, eggs, coconut products, and tapioca. Try playing around with those, in that order, if you think this is the culprit for you. If it's none of those, then start tweeting out all the foods you eat one by one. 9. You may actually be losing fat, you just don't know it. The scale is a nasty devil sometimes. While you may actually be losing fat, the scale may not show it because you're simultaneously gaining muscle, leaning out, and getting some tone like you've always wanted it. Your clothes may be loose, even though the scale is telling you you're imagining things. Check out this story about a lady who looks way healthier now, but the scale has stayed the same. Some people even gain weight when they go paleo because they don't have much fat to lose and then they put on muscle. They're heavier on the scale, but they look totally different. So weight isn't everything. That's why it's really important to take measurements and get your body fat tested. Any gym will do this for you, before you start so you can track your progress. Pictures are good, too. 10. You may need to see a naturopath. I don't know how many of the situations above apply to you, but this is what comes to mind when I hear that people are having trouble losing weight. I have a feeling you'll have some success if you start experimenting with these things. If you don't, then I'd strongly suggest going to see a paleo-friendly naturopathic doctor, or naturopath. You can find one in your area on www.primaldex.com. They'll do some testing to figure out what's going on. Who knows? Maybe you have yeast overgrowth or a parasite that's causing weird stuff to happen to your immune and digestive systems. Maybe your thyroid is out of whack and you need to take herbal and nutrient supplements for a while, like me. Maybe your sex hormones are out of balance and need some nutrient support, or even bioidentical hormone replacement. It could be a lot of things, all of which could affect weight loss. 11. Seeds and nuts. Yep, healthy. Except of course when you're eating a bucket of cashews before lunch. Nuts are a quality natural food, but they are also very high in fat, good fat, and calories. When it comes to eating nuts, weigh or count what you're putting in your mouth. Freestyle, unconscious eating of nuts ain't a great strategy when it comes to creating and maintaining your best body. Unless of course, you wanna weigh 400 pounds soon. Most nuts are more than 50% fat. 12. Fruit juice. Not all juice is juice. Some fruit juices are in fact fruit drinks with as little as 5% fruit juice in them. Read those labels carefully. When you do find the real deal, consume it in moderation. Lots of calories and lots of sugar mean that we don't want to be using fruit juice as our sole means of hydration. They have this thing now called water. Apparently it's great. Interestingly, a glass of fruit juice has about the same amount of sugar and calories as a glass of soft drink, soda. A healthier type of sugar, fructose, of course, but sugar nonetheless. 13. Fruit smoothies. The term healthy smoothie can be an oxymoron with some smoothies, from well-known outlets here in Oz, having as many as 600 calories and 70 grams, 14 teaspoons, of sugar. Wanna get fat? Throw down a couple of those bad boys each day. 14. Dried fruit. We take out the water, we leave the sugar and the calories and we're left with dried fruit. A very energy-dense food. Fresh fruit is a much Better option. Compare 100 grams of fresh apricot, 40 calories, with 100 grams of dried apricot, over 250 calories. Same weight, very different calories. If you're going to eat dried fruit, do it sparingly. 15. Muffins. Somehow, not sure why, some people consider a muffin to be a healthy snack. Let's be clear. It's not healthy, it's cake. It's, typically, white flour, sugar, egg and some form of fat. Parents who, constantly, feed their kids muffins are irresponsible and pushing their offspring towards obesity. 16. Salads. Just the word salad reeks of health, vitality and goodness, doesn't it? If only it were true. As a rule, the only salad you wanna eat is the one you make yourself with fresh ingredients and little or no dressing. Not all, but many salads that you buy when eating out are laced with high-fat dressings and high-sugar sauces. A Caesar salad can easily contain 50-60 grams of fat, the same as 2 Big Macs. 17. Muesli bars. The majority are high-fat, high-sugar, high-calorie crap. Avoid them. 18. Toasted muesli. Like raw muesli but more calories, more fat and not as good for you. Go the raw option. 19. Sports drinks. AKA colored water with sugar. Unless you're an athlete who needs to replenish your depleted glycogen stores because you've just completed a massive training session, drink some water instead. 20. Protein bars. Some are okay but not many. Most are high in preservatives, interesting chemicals, calories and fat. Some are laced with artificial sweeteners and who knows what the long-term consequences of those will be. Many protein bars have a similar calorie and fat content to a Mars bar, of comparative weight. Read the labels and choose wisely if you must have one, but keep in mind that you can find protein in better places. Apparently there's a new high-protein product on the market, they call it the egg. If you get a chance, check one out. 21. Cereal. In Australia, the vast majority of supermarket cereals are high-sugar, processed crap. Most of the popular cereals, in terms of sales, live somewhere in the 20 to 35% sugar range. Great for the dentists, not so good for our kids. Or you. Look on the back of the pack and as a rule, the less ingredients, the better. My preferred cereals? Oats, raw muesli, oat Brits, Vita Brits, or similar, unprocessed bran. The more natural and unprocessed, the better. My daily breakfast? 3 oat Brits, no I'm not sponsored, 50 grams of raw muesli, 30 grams of unprocessed bran, skim milk. Or porridge, oats, and fresh fruit. 22. Flavored rice cakes. Some people live on these things. I have to admit that I am partial to the odd flavored rice cake. Unfortunately they have about as much nutritional value as eating your toenails. There's a thought. Very processed and very high in sodium, salt. 23. Low-fat ice cream. As with many other low-fat products, the lack of fat is usually compensated for with additional sugar. Won't kill you but keep it to a minimum. 14. Low-fat frozen dinners. Apart from the fact that they're tiny, expensive and taste like cardboard, in my opinion, they're also jammed with preservatives and sodium. Apart from that, they're fantastic. 24. Vegetarian meals. Some people assume that if a meal is vegetarian, it's automatically healthy. Erroneous assumption. Some vegetarian meals are fantastic. Some are high in fat. Some are healthy. Some are not. Some vegetarian meals contain plenty of oil and other high-fat ingredients like coconut milk. By the way, 1 cup of coconut milk contains 57 grams of fat, more than most of us should consume in an entire day. Don't avoid vegetarian food, but know what you're putting in your mouth. 1 Too many carbs. If you've been cutting back or reducing carb intake, you may not have cut back enough. Track your carb intake for several days so you know how many grams of carbs you are eating on average. I recommend starting with 100 grams of carbs a day to begin with. You should all be looking at the types of carbs you're eating. 100 grams of carb from veggies and fruits is not the same as 100 grams from donuts and pastries. Keep in mind that food quality make a huge difference. 25 You're weighing yourself. If you are hopping on the scale every day, the numbers are going to fluctuate wildly, and you will quickly feel frustrated. Resist weighing yourself every day. Use body measurements for an accurate assessment of body size instead. Keep in mind that muscle weighs more than fat and takes up less space as well. You can also take before and after pictures. You should be able to feel a difference in the way your body feels and in the way your clothes fit. If your clothes are looser, you are losing weight. 26 Emotional stress. Every day we battle emotional stress in our lives due to family, work and finances. Our bodies don't distinguish between different types of stress. All stress produces the cortisol, stress hormone, in the body, and cortisol is kryptonite to weight loss. It breaks down lean muscles, which is crucial to increasing your metabolism, increases rate of fat storage and puts you at great risk for insulin resistance, which can lead to type 2 diabetes. Recognizing stress and learning effective stress management techniques that work for you will help you reduce cortisol production in your body. Another quick tip is to not overdo it with exercise when you're under a lot of stress. Adding more physical stress on top of emotional stress can backfire on your weight loss progress. Instead, if you know you're under a lot of emotional stress, it may be best to actually ease up on your workouts and even take some time off. 27 You're eating too much. While reducing carbs is a proven and effective way to reduce weight, if you simply replace the carbs with too much fat and protein, you won't lose weight. Although calories in calories out is not an accurate measurement of fat loss, it still does matter. You simply can't eat your way thin. Track your macronutrients for a few days to get an accurate count of the grams of fat, protein and carbs you are eating per day. This way you get a rough idea of how much food you need to be eating on a daily basis. 28 Intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is a great way to kickstart your metabolism. Intermittent fasting means that you fast anywhere from 12 hours to 36 hours at a time, on a regular basis. If you've never fasted before, I would start by skipping one meal and see how you do. The best meal to skip is breakfast, since it's generally the meal most people skip on due to lack of time. If you stop eating at around 8 p.m. the night before and you skip breakfast the next morning and don't eat until lunch at around 12 p.m., that's a 16-hour fast. You can drink water, coffee, with no sugar or cream, or tea during your fast. Fasting has been shown to effectively reduce cravings and appetite over time. It may be just what you need to get you off your plateau. 27 Too much exercise. Here's the deal. Not all exercises work well with low-carb diets. If you're doing long hard workouts that last an hour or more, it may be too difficult for you to stick to a low-carb diet. Doing too much will only increase your appetite, and it will especially increase your craving for carbs since it's the quickest form of energy. The best kind of exercise you can do with a low-carb diet is short, brief workouts performed with high intensity. You don't need to work out much longer than 15 to 20 minutes at a time. Some people can last as long as 30 minutes, but it's not necessary. If the intensity is there, duration is irrelevant. You can do HIIT, high-intensity interval training, or circuit training using full-body functional exercises to get the most out of each workout session. Either way, keep it brief and intense. That's the key. You're eating low-quality foods. Simply reducing carbs does not mean that you suddenly have a healthy diet. This doesn't mean you can simply cut our carbs and eat processed and refined foods. Eating McDonald's hamburger without the buns is still poor diet, no matter how you look at it. You need to eat high-quality foods. Keep your diet based on whole foods and avoid processed and refined foods as much as possible. You can even lower your fruit intake since it's high in sugar and instead eat more vegetables. If you're craving for sweets, try eating sweet potatoes instead. And keep your alcohol intake to a minimum or only on special occasions. 28. You're gaining muscle. As you gain more muscle, you can also gain more water weight. Some people mistakenly think that they're actually getting larger, when in fact it's just water retention. Water retention is temporary and will come off as your body adapts to the diet and exercise you're doing. 29. You are not getting enough sleep. Getting a good night's rest not only makes you feel better, but it makes your body function better as well. Starting your day tired and run down will affect the way you work out, your mood and your motivation to stick to your low-carb diet. Lack of sleep is linked to weight gain and obesity as well. If you have trouble sleeping, try reducing caffeine in the afternoon and dim the lights in the evening, and don't use electronics an hour before going to sleep. Create a bedtime routine that includes meditation or breathing exercises to help you unwind and relax. Sometimes being on a low-carb diet can hinder your sleep as well. In such a case, taking a tablespoon of honey can make a difference. 30. Your electrolytes are off balance. Being on a low-carb diet can result in mineral imbalance. Since you're not eating as many carbs, you start to lose glycogen in your muscles and your body uses more sodium and potassium. This mineral imbalance can lead to lower blood pressure, lightheadedness and increased craving for carbs. If you don't fix these symptoms, it's easy to fall off the wagon and start eating carbs again. In order to avoid this vicious cycle, make sure that you increase your sodium and potassium intake. You can increase sodium by eating more salt or by drinking hot water with bouillon cubes, which is high in sodium. To increase your potassium intake, you can eat foods such as sweet potatoes, spinach, tomatoes, lentils and bananas, which are all high in potassium content. 31. You're dead. Fact: 100% of people who are dead struggle to lose weight. This is because it is extremely difficult to burn calories after death. Unfortunately, if you are dead, your weight loss journey will be significantly affected. Try to remain alive when attempting to lose weight. 32. You're a chair. If you are a chair, you've probably noticed that losing weight is a little more difficult for you compared to non-inanimate objects. Doctors have concluded that chairs have a hard time losing weight in their legs. You may find that you'll feel lighter after the person sitting in you has stood up. You may not find that to be true, because you're a goddamn chair, and chairs do not have feelings, emotions, or thoughts. If you're a chair who is even capable of reading this, you should go back to your Pixar-created world, and leave ours immediately. Nice try, chair. 33. You've been placed under a witch's curse. According to a 2014 survey, 67% of American women have been placed under a witch's curse. Obviously, this number is higher in Europe. Forgive me for stating the obvious, but it bears a reminder: witches curse people every day. Think carefully. Have you offended one lately? Did you cut in front of a witch at Starbucks? Did said witch cackle, stare into your soul, point a green finger at you, and say, I'll get you my pretty, and your little blog, too? If so, consider yourself cursed. As we all know, removing a witch's curse is a long and arduous process, so it's better to err on the side of caution and execute blind friendliness toward all green beings. I know what you're going to say, not all witches, and I agree, but I think it's better to be safe than sorry. This is your weight loss we're talking about. 34. You're not making the traditional sacrifice to the weight loss gods. We all know the three basic principles of weight loss: restrict calories, increase exercise, make a sacrifice to the weight loss gods. However, many of us overlook the importance of the third one. For years we've been told that calorie restriction and exercise were enough. This obviously isn't true. If you're not making the traditional sacrifice to the weight loss gods, you will not see results. While more and more scientists are supporting the sacrifice, they are still not in agreement about which sacrifice works best. Personally, I think it's best to keep it simple: a single hair from a mermaid, a bowl of glass grapes, and an educated mouse are really all you need. Anything more than that and it's overkill. 35. You forgot to make a visualization board. It isn't enough to be vigilant about diet and exercise. You must take at least an hour out of your day to make a visualization board of what your weight loss will look like. Make sure the board is at least the size of your bedroom wall. Then cut out images of your ideal bodies from magazines, and paste them to the board. Be sure to write mantras on the board and encouraging phrases like, "Not all WHO wonder are lost and there is no I in team and I size baby."